everybody? This is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Network. And you know what? You know what you don't hear? You don't hear L.A. Williams. I don't know where he's at, but he's trying to get an extra check. You know what I mean? So if y'all see L.A. Williams, I know he ain't going to see you. You know what I mean? If you see him, then let me know because I can't find him. No, I'm only kidding. LA is out there. He's in the field right now. He's helping dealers sell more cars more often, more profitably. And what I want to focus on today is technology. So you could do things the easy way or you could do things the hard way. I'm old enough to remember the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And right now in the automotive industry, point blank, we are living closest that I could ever imagine in the Jetsons area. We have video emails, video conferencing. We've got, drones. We've got, soon to be drone taxis in Dubai. We've got autonomous cars. There's all this stuff. And then there's this thing called AI, artificial intelligence. And the whole aspect of that is still very confusing to people. What's the difference between conversational AI versus chatbot technology versus straight lies and snake oil from other people that are just trying to run on the acronym of AI? As a matter of fact, there's companies out there, I'm going to mention any names, that use the acronym AI, but it doesn't even mean artificial intelligence. Some companies are changing the A to mean something else. And then so AI is AI. That's how powerful AI is that people are now hijacking those two letters because dealers are paying attention anytime somebody says that. So and the only reason why I keep bringing these people in is because I keep getting DMs, I keep getting emails, I keep getting text messages. And if you are a follower and part of our tribe in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, you'll see what I'm talking about. People are always asking about artificial intelligence. So today I have a special guest that I'm going to be bringing in right after we pay these bills. My man, Billy Hymas, is the auto director at Podium. That sounds important. Let's figure out what that means when we come back after we pay these bills.
This episode is brought to you by Podium. Here's a question. How much would your business change if you had one more employee who worked 24/7 to turn every lead, including the ones that come in after hours, into test drives, sales, and more money for your dealership? Meet Jerry, Podium's new AI BDC. Jerry is a lead conversion powerhouse designed to respond instantly to every incoming lead to answer questions accurately, keep leads warm, and schedule test drives all without direct human supervision. And the best part, with a seamless handoff to staff on the sales floor, customers will never know they were interacting with an AI to begin with. See how Podium's AI BDC can help you sell more cars by visiting podium.com/MCS. That's podium.com/MCS or click on the link in the show notes below. Introducing Dealer Synergy's brand new 55,000 square foot outsourced BDC. Over 2,000 highly skilled agents are not just making and taking calls, they're transforming customer engagements. Our agents are specially trained by Dealer Synergy, a name trusted in automotive sales training for over 20 years. With access to decades of proven methods, they're equipped with the skills and confidence to handle every customer interaction. Combining Dealer Synergy's advanced training with the cost efficiency of a Belize-based team, our BDC helps you grow your business and maximize every opportunity. The native language in Belize is English, so no customer will be affected by agitating language barriers. Through Dealer Synergy's industry-leading training, these agents are primed to deliver results that boost your dealership's bottom line. Our goal, keep your showroom full, your customers engaged, and your reputation shining. Dealer Synergy's BDC is your partner in elevating customer satisfaction and bringing in a steady stream of ready-to-buy visitors. Contact Dealer Synergy to get more information to sign up today.
We're back. Everybody, this is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. And as promised, I got a juggernaut. You hear me? You know what juggernaut is? You ever watch X-Men? Well, again, maybe not the appearance, you know what I'm saying? But his skills are just as mighty as the mighty juggernaut. So I got Billy Hymas, that's the auto director at Podium. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So again, just right off the rip, the title, Auto Director at Podium, what does that mean? What do you do at Podium?
So I run a sales team that chats with potential and existing auto customers. So talking a lot about AI with folks, phones, ultimately making sure that we can help dealers close leads that are coming in.
Okay. And so just if you run a sales team, you must yourself have sales skills if you're running a sales team. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, I've been a phone guy, a door-to-door guy. I've worked in enterprise space, SMB or small, medium-sized space. So done a little bit of it all, and now focused on the auto world.
Wait a minute, I got to go in. You just got my curiosity. You were door to door. People don't realize that's one of the hardest things out there. So just really briefly, go back in time a little bit. What did you used to do door to door?
So I sold alarms. Did it in a couple of years. Most of the stories that at least get people's attention. I sold in Texas, really in some of these southern areas, in like Brownsville, if you know it. I mean, we're talking like I was practicing my Spanish as best I could, just a gringo out there, not doing a good job at all. But yeah, so I've been yelled.
Yo, you've been through the fire. You've been baptized. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, listen, if you're in Texas
Yeah.
as a gringo practicing your Spanish, selling alarms door to door in an open carry state, then God bless you, man. Then I'm really excited about this. So if you can, just give us a little bit of your background, like because man, I'm looking at your credentials here. I like, wow. But I want our audience to hear directly from you. Just give us a little bit about your professional background.
Yeah. Like I said, did door to door, did phone sales to start out. I was a wholesale rep for Tempur Sealy for a lot of years, and I'd say kind of cut my teeth in that B2B sales space there. I got into some management type things in the healthcare space, totally unrelated in a lot of ways. What I'd say is very, very similar is talking with dealers nationwide. Managing teams is managing teams. I don't care if the product that you have is selling a car or selling care. It's about dealing with really incredible employees and the other folks that drive you nuts and you wish you could just shake a little bit. So ultimately, finding ways to help teams do what we need them to do is what I'm passionate about.
I love it. And you have joined or been part of an all-star team at Podium. I mean, from all the dealers that I know that are on Podium, you guys are the Leviathan when it comes to artificial intelligence. You also obviously specialize in online reputation and text messaging. And correct me if I'm wrong, you have about 6,000 dealership clients and then a total of like 110,000 other clients that are in multiple verticals. Am I correct?
Yeah. Podium's been around for just over a decade, which in the tech world is actually a pretty old company. Got our start once upon a time in that review space, making sure it could be found on Google. In fact, Google invested tens of millions of dollars into Podium, but then as technology continued to advance, our relationship with our customers continued to advance. We've really shifted in a big way to helping convert leads. So again, it started with just making sure you get found, which would drive, a call or a text. And now it's about continuing to do that, but make sure that those leads that are reaching out, no matter the time of day, no matter the way they reach out, we can help those leads close.
Yeah, and from my understanding, Jerry is the name of the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Again, it is extremely important. This is what I want to dive into: is the importance of speed and lead response and customer interactions. At the end of the day, correct me, Billy, if I'm wrong or not, but you can't sell a car or you can't sell something to a lead. You need to have a bidirectional conversation. You need to have somebody that's engaging with you. So I'm gonna say that a different way. Isn't it safe to say that you have to have some type of engagement to be able to sell something?
Yeah, for sure. And what I end up talking with folks about a lot is leads can die in a lot of different spaces. They're most at risk of dying in like those first 5 minutes, right? A piece of it is when somebody's brave enough to actually like put their information into a Car Gurus or Auto Trader, and say like, hey, I'm interested in this car. They're passionate about it. They're thinking, what would this be like driving around with the fam or, looking great in this new vehicle. The other thing that makes those first 5 minutes really valuable or really at risk, I should say, is most of those that come through are coming through after hours. And so that's when, you're home with your family as a sales guy and maybe you don't want to answer it, or maybe you're asleep or whatever it is. So what we find is the majority of the leads that are coming through for most of our customers, they're coming in at the wrong time, meaning when they're not on the clock. And again, those first 5 minutes, if you can't respond within those first five, the chances of you converting that lead, it drops in a huge, huge way by like 80%. And that's not just a Podium stat. That's a general stat out there. And so what Jerry does is helps take advantage of those first 5 minutes to start the conversation.
And to add to that is, let me just reinforce from my perspective as a national consultant and trainer, there's a reason why NADA says is a direct correlation from response time to closing ratio. So the faster you respond to somebody, the higher the closing ratio, which is just another way of saying what you just said.
Yeah.
And then to further validate this point, there's a reason why the vast, vast majority of OEMs have a stop the clock. I mean, some of them tie it to co-ops, some of it tie it to to incentives and bonuses, some, tie it to even more critical aspects because NADA, the OEMs, Podium, dealer synergy, we all understand the faster you respond to somebody, the higher the closing ratio. Furthermore, I want to add another piece of data from JD Power. JD Power says that the average prospect is searching 9 to 11 other dealerships and or websites. So let's just say, for example, Toyota of Vineland in New Jersey. Let's say somebody's submitting an internet purchase request on a 2025 Toyota RAV4. Statistically, that prospect, to your point, whether it's after hours or on a Sunday or something like that, they're not just submitting a purchase request to Toyota of Vineland. They might be submitting it to other Toyota dealerships, Honda dealerships, Nissan, Infiniti, whatever, and they might be looking at a used car, or they might be going to Carvana, etc. So if you don't have immediate expeditiously responded, to that prospect, you run the risk of not only dropping your closing ratio, but somebody else, some other dealership, some other website might engage and convert your prospect. Would you agree, Billy?
Yeah, 100%. And so what we see is that I got a job, I got kids, right? And so my wife and I, we bought a vehicle last year. I wasn't shopping online until about 9 or 10 p.m., right? And when I finally started, peppering dealers for information on this or that, the ones that had the ability to start texting me right then, that's when I was engaged and interested. Everybody else who I reached out to, as they're trying to call me, the next day at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. when they get to it, I'm just getting a call from a number I don't recognize. I'm not answering it. I'm working. I'm talking to somebody, whatever it is. And so, yeah, to your point, it's while AI, like really good AI, to your point, not all AI is created equal, can be helpful 24/7. What I'd say is the obvious choice where AI does a ton of good is for all those leads that come in after hours, super qualified, but then just trying to get back with somebody and getting stuck in that voicemail hell, trying to connect with somebody is painful. I don't care how good of a salesperson you are. If you can't talk to them, it doesn't mean much.
Yeah, no, I love that. I want to, before we go on to the next point, I want to just redirect for slightly on this to what you just said. It's not just the responding to somebody immediately. That is absolutely very important, but it's the right response, because there's nothing more counterproductive that could be detrimental than a live agent or some faulty email template, some faulty automation that has, how many times have we seen horror stories, you and I both, Billy, where it says insert customer name or year, make, and model, because the merge codes or the macros didn't merge between the internet purchase request from HTML, plain text, XML into the customer dashboard. See, AI, and this, folks, just for my audience, this is not a Podium commercial. He's on here because he's an AI expert. So obviously we recommend Podium, but this is just, we're here to promote AI, artificial intelligence, and the value of it, because there's so many dealers that don't really understand the magnitude of value from AI itself. So can you speak about, again, how valuable AI is by providing the right message, because it's artificial intelligence that's not going to be misspelled, it's not going to be, insert customer name. Can you talk about that? Because that's probably a fear of a lot of dealers, is that because they see all the horror stories with crappy setup CRMs and CRM automation. Explain the difference of conversational AI compared to just email merge codes, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. I joke. It's kind of like talking with an expert on the phone, or when you're on the phone with, who will I pick on? Delta or somebody, and you just keep yelling at the thing, speak to a representative, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
very clear when you're talking to a dumb bot versus having a conversation. So just to nerd out a little bit, there's marketing folks that will call a lot of things AI, but what we're talking about is if anybody's heard of like Chat GPT, that's one of the products. It's created by a group called Open AI, arguably the leader in the space. These large language models is what they call them. Honestly, they can read, understand, talk back, add humor, add empathy, all with the purpose of driving to a certain outcome. So, for example, most of the dealers that we work with, getting a test drive scheduled is a big deal, right? And so, whether the lead comes in through gurus or through a web chat or whatever it is, guiding the conversation to provide feedback, answer questions, provide support, is all part of it, with the goal of getting those folks to come to the dealership so that salespeople can do what they do best, sell. What we find too is being able to work hand in hand with these AI agents. Again, we call ours Jerry. I have folks that they'll keep that name. Some will create their own name, but they really become a part of the team, right? What's funniest is we'll see folks leave reviews for dealers and say, hey, 5-star experience. Man, Jerry was great. Talked to me for like an hour or two late one night. I couldn't believe he went, above and beyond. And then I worked with, Sean personally because Jerry wasn't there. Sean's a rock star. And again, when everything is up and running, again, these AI agents just become part of the team.
What I've understood this to be is that, especially with really good AI companies like you guys, is that it's training. You know what I mean? The more field intelligence that the AI has, where do they get this field intelligence? Where do they get the training? Well, first of all, and we'll get into this after the next segment is,
Sure.
how do you train AI? But for right now, I just want to plant the seed, is that between the field intelligence that the AI automatically grabs from chat, from the website, from online reputation, from reviews, from the internet, or from the CRM, or the conversations, plus with the proper onboarding right there, it gets all of this stuff. The more that it learns, am I accurate that? Because I'm not you, brother. I don't have your AI expertise. That's why you're on my show. You know what I mean? Am I Harry Potter in this thing, or is that real? That the more time that the AI is in existence, the more that it learns, it understands, it interprets, it analyzes patterns, and the more valuable the AI is. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's basically three pieces that makes AI or Jerry, in our case, really be a member of your team. First is that large language model, right? So the Chat GPT, if you will. The next piece is what we call a playbook, and it's generally called a playbook, which is Podium taking millions of text messages and understanding the industry, working with partners nationwide to say, okay, generally this is kind of how a conversation should go. Here's how we speak to this. Here's how we add empathy, but still push for the outcome, right? That's the second layer. The third layer, to your point, is it's feedback from the dealer. So it's a combination of what are your policies, what are your practices, hooking into inventory, right? And that way, Jerry becomes, again, more than just a dumb bot with a little automated workflow, just saying like, hey, we got your message, we'll have somebody reach out, right? Like that's not incredibly helpful. What's helpful is to say, hey, I saw that you're interested in this, white Tahoe. Would you like to do a test drive? Oh, you have questions about shipping? Yeah, here's how it works. And just moving everything along, whether it is answering about inventory, policies, etc.
I definitely want to dive into this when we, after we come back for the next break. But before we go to break, I want to ask this question. It's important. In your opinion, and from, all your background, especially from post-pandemic reality, and I call it the Thanos blip, you know what I mean? When the whole pandemic happened, I think there's been the whole world, the whole planet has a different version or interpretation of shopping, researching, buying, etc. So how would you say that consumer expectations have changed when it comes to communications with dealerships or shopping and buying a car? Like, what has been the big change?
Love it or hate it, more and more is done online. I think we were seeing those trends in a big way ahead of time, and then COVID only increased that as we kind of found a way to shop from the house, regardless of what you're shopping for. And then I jokingly call it the TikTok effect. I mean, people's, or, maybe you've heard it called the Amazon effect. People's attention spans, people's expectation of a immediate gratification, of a quick response. It's baked into who we are, right? If I order something from Amazon and it's going to take 3 days instead of 2 days, I'm mad, right? And for a purchase, we do this day to day, so maybe we can become numb to it. But when you're buying something that's maybe not as expensive for your house, but it's like the number two, item that you're going to purchase, like it feels scary. It doesn't feel good. And so having anything that's going to make that process harder only delays that purchase, right? And so the ability to, check that box, answer quickly, help people feel warm and fuzzy because they're getting that instant dopamine hit, that's what sells cars.
I would agree, because I don't want to bring this up. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but like, we have drive-through liquor stores. Like, how does it make sense? Because of the convenience, right? Like, we have drive-through liquor stores. They are a real thing in different parts of the United States. We have Amazon Prime could be overnight delivery. I could order something like at night, and in a couple hours, it could literally be at my front door. People want instant gratification. And when they don't get instant gratification, I think it's a withdrawal from the emotional bank account, because I'm thinking into myself, if I'm a consumer, wait a minute, Amazon could give it to me, ABC liquor store could give it to me, XYZ vendor could give it to me. So you're telling me I'm about to buy the second largest item ever in my lifetime. And for a lot of Americans, this will be the single largest item in my lifetime. And you're elongating the process. You want me to spend 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000, and you're taking 30 minutes to cook minute rice. I'm not okay with that, and I think that dealers are missing the reality that there's so many other options. I'm going to go back to that JD Power stat. JD Power, not Sean Bradley, JD Power says that the average prospect is looking to 9 to 11 other dealerships and websites besides you. So again, I don't know, Billy, if you know the famous poet. This guy's like huge. I mean, you heard of Shakespeare, but have you heard of Biggie Smalls from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn? Biggie says, I don't chase them, I replace them. I'm gonna repeat that. That's one of my favorite lines is, I don't chase them, I don't replace them. That's from the Big Papa himself. So my point being is, if I want to buy something as expensive as an automobile, and if I don't get what I think I want or need, I'm not going to chase you. It's too easy to go to one of these third-party providers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Even the poet Biggie. Yeah,
My man.
and I think the other piece of it, and frankly, kind of the secret sauce of what's helped Podium, start as a very, very tiny little group and as now an industry leader. Text messages is a huge piece of that, right? Emails, at least the folks I chat with will tell me that, an open rate for an email is generally in the single digits, right? So you have, 100 people you send an email to, maybe 6 or 7 open it at all, right? Whereas like a text message, 98% of text messages are opened, 95% are opened in 3 minutes on average. And so when you combine, and text messages is not like a crazy technology anymore, it doesn't feel that way, but it feels so much more personal and communicative and can keep a conversation going. And so when you pair that with, an assistant that can answer a question or be there for you, again, 12 noon or 12 midnight, that's where you see these really interesting things happen. I'm thinking of a group, they had about a 12% conversion rate for after hour leads that jumped to like mid 40s. And that like 4X was because they just weren't answering those folks until the day after, when they were busy, when they didn't recognize the phone number, etc. So
no, that's pretty big. Are you able to share the name of the group, or you can't?
I maybe shouldn't share the group, but it's this was a large OEM group in particular. So it's not just a small group, but they have, I'll say, a healthy presence in the state they're in, that they kind of own the area. And so it's not that folks didn't know them, it's just that operationally there was a gap. And when they addressed it, that gap closed really, really fast.
Let me, for the audience, I want to break that down, because again, at first, sound, it might be like, oh, that's kind of cool. No, let me break that down for you. He said 12% to 40 plus percent. That's insane. Put this in perspective. Connections are, and Billy, I don't know how you feel, but in my opinion, as a sales ninja that I am, connections are single-handedly the biggest kryptonite for any sales team. Because if you look at this, I'm going to modify that stat that you said. Emails literally are 2 to 4% read open rate. So I'm going to repeat that. Emails are 2 to 4% read open rate. We track tens of millions of outbound calls from our clients. And we find that nationally, without a predictive dialer or any type of software enhancement, if you just have agents, whether they're call center, they're BDC, they're outsourced, or they're salespeople or whatever, it's only a 7 to 8% connection ratio. So I'm going to repeat that, a 7 to 8% connection ratio. So the vast majority of any salesperson at a dealership or any BDC rep or any outsourced call center at a dealership, the vast majority of their efforts, and this is not a question, it's a statement, is follow up, follow up, follow up.
Mhm.
27 years of automotive internet BDC CRM experience. The hardest part, it's just getting them to engage or connect or respond to you. So if there's any type of technology that could increase engagements, it automatically multiplies everything else. One more thing, and I want your comment on this. For example, the more people you reach out to, the more connections. The more connections, the more appointments. The more appointments, the more shows. The more shows, the more sales. It's very simple. All you have to do is increase the connections. And if you didn't get better at anything else, you didn't get better at making appointments, you didn't get better at getting people to show up, you didn't get better at closing the deal, you didn't get better at funding the deal. All you did was get more connections, more conversation, and then boom, 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 it maths out. Can you elaborate that, Billy? Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And then just to nerd out a little bit more on like the AI front of things, where AI or Jerry in our world is super helpful, is he can make sure that that initial lead is answered. But then, just as important, actually, I'll still say that's the most important. That's just where we see a crazy drop off if you don't answer that right away. In the second place is what's that follow up look like when the conversation pauses, right? Which is why you got a BDC team calling people, et cetera. What Jerry can do is send those text messages out. You can essentially create a cadence or a drip campaign. There's different names for it. It's all the same stuff. Just saying, hey, where are we at with this? Hey, would love to work with you. It can use the context from the conversation. And then most importantly, when they do text back, again, 12 noon or 12 midnight, doesn't matter. Jerry works 24/7. That conversation can continue when it's the best time for that lead, right? For that consumer. So what that does for the sales folks, number one, it makes it where they don't have to, of their 100 tasks, maybe half of them, making up a number, are just texting people, right? Reaching out. Knowing that that's taken care of by our guy, Jerry, right? The assistant gives them more time to have more phone calls. So I 100% agree. If you can keep the same closing rates where they're at, but just have more outreach, that's just math. It's just going to increase the number. But when you can increase the calls as well, that's where, again, the math just plays out, right? It gives you more time to do what you're best at, which is selling in person.
Man, I'm going to go into one of the biggest problems the automotive industry's ever had for the entire almost 3 decades I've been in it. Attrition, 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 staffing, and HR.
Yeah.
Again, there is a 70 to 80% attrition ratio. And again, this is not a question, this is a statement that I'm gonna ask. The question is this, is that a tremendous amount of dealers are going through this reality. And so if you're a dealer, you're a dealer principal, you're a general manager, you're a manager, correct me if I'm wrong here. You went from before the pandemic to having, flooded the floor because most of the floors was mediocre. They were complacent with mediocrity. You were doing bell to bells. And then all of a sudden pandemic hit, you cut your staff. Well, some of them, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, weren't able to work or didn't make it. And the ones that did, we didn't need to flood the floor. We didn't need to go bell to bell because there was a massive inventory crisis. And if you had the cars, you could sell them at list or over list. So we went through a unrealistic, unprecedented growth spurt profit-wise.
Yeah.
Now, Smurf Village Gargamel's come and stomped it out. There is no more Smurf Village anymore. There's no more unicorns anymore in the land of the magical. We're back to the land of reality where we've got to be what? we've got to be more professional. We've got to train, practice, drill, and rehearse. And here's what I find. And here's the question, really. You have 6,000 plus rooftops at Podium. I've got 4,500 rooftops at Dealer Synergy in the last 21 years I've owned this company. And the vast majority, that means more than half of dealers, are understaffed and over leads. And the people they do have, unfortunately, are not trained and experienced. Think about it. If you haven't sold cars more than 4 years, then you might not even know what it's like pre-pandemic, when you had to turn around and go half a holdback to try to get a F-150, located. So would you agree that attrition and HR deficiency plagues dealerships all over the United States?
Yeah, for sure. And this is where, again, say you're in a world where, you have a AI assistant to keep these conversations going. One of the most interesting things that I don't think was part of like what the thought process was with like these engineers, building this thing. But what we find is that Jerry actually serves as an incredible trainer. And so as like new people are hired on, a lot of my dealers, they'll just open up Podium and they'll start going through conversations just to show how Jerry is talking to their customers, right? And then there are some where they'll say, okay, this is how you want to speak to this. There's some that just say, let Jerry do his thing, and then he'll notify you when we need you to make a phone call. Either way you look at it, whether you are a veteran of decades in the space or you're brand new, but you got some hustle in you, when you decide that you're going to work with this AI agent, it just makes what you can do grow. It's all about doing more with less, right? And maximizing the time we have. If you're a sales guy, if you're the GM or owner, it's about making sure your team's doing what they need to do. And so from that perspective, this is where, honestly, this is the bigger deal for these folks. It's, I know that I can keep an eye on where these conversations are at, trust that Jerry is taking care of a lot of the back and forth so that my team can spend extra time with somebody in a lot, or not feel like they're trying to, answer a quick lead that comes in and not pay attention to that person in front of you. And so again, working together is where we've really seen, numbers blossom.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is exciting, but I got to just take a couple minutes to pay these bills. So we'll be right back.
Dealers, are you ready to elevate your success and dominate 2025? Then it's time to check out NCC's Complete CRM, the all-in-one solution built for dealerships like yours. Whether you're an independent, franchise, or dealer group, this platform has been specifically designed to fit your unique needs. For over 30 years, NCC has been leading the way in innovative dealership solutions with built-in tools like soft pull, data mining, inventory, desking, compliance, and call tracking. Complete CRM also seamlessly integrates with your other chosen systems to help you maximize every opportunity, all while focusing on what really powers your sales: credit-driven retailing. Complete CRM specializes in turning credit insights into more profitable deals. So don't just manage your dealership in 2025, transform it. Visit nccdirect.com today to schedule a demo and see how Complete CRM can revolutionize your business. That's nccdirect.com, the smarter way to sell.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business.
We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Koons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
There's the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman, and we're back, and I have a special guest, Billy Hymas. He's the auto direct at Podium. Am I correct, brother?
Yes, sir.
I love it. All right, so we have some interesting conversation right before we went to break. Something you said really it hit me in my soul as a car guy. You know why people don't respect certain internet directors or BDC directors? Because they've never taken up before. They've never done it. How are you going to tell me what to do? You ain't about this life. And how are you going to be a desk manager again if you've never been a sales manager? You've never sold a car before. So I love what you just said. Dealers, did you hear what the man just said? Is that, and I didn't even think of it like that, but as a trainer, it makes sense. You lead by example. So if Jerry or AI is engaging prospects, if it's overcoming objections, if it's providing value, and most importantly, if it's closing appointments, then that acts as a perfect way to be able to train your new hires or even train your veterans that might be struggling. At the end of the day, that's what a leader does. That's what a closer does. That's what a manager does, is they lead by example. So thank you for bringing that to, our attention, because I do think I hear a lot of conversation about AI, but I don't really hear it articulated like you just did. And man, that just hit me as a trainer. That's awesome. Yo, but Jerry, I'm telling you right now, you better not try to take my job. I'm only kidding. We can work together, Jerry. I'm good. So now, with that being said, I want to bring up one other point. I want to get your opinion on this. As I was saying before, about there's a deficiency in HR, there's a deficiency with attrition, there's a deficiency in mediocrity. What I love about AI and artificial intelligence, and I want to get your opinion, is I believe it's like having a team. It's like having, you ever watch the Avengers and you see Doctor Strange and then he's able to replicate himself. He's able to have like the multiplicity effect. I kind of envision Jerry, for this analogy, looking like Doctor Strange. And then all of a sudden there's Jerry, there's Jerry's all over the place. Is that a realistic expectation? If you have artificial intelligence, it's almost like it's omnipresent and, it could be almost everywhere simultaneously, or am I just reaching?
That's a funny way to think of it. Yeah, what I'll tell you, what's great about Jerry is he's 24/7, 365, right? He doesn't need to take a sick day, doesn't have a vape or a smoking break every 15 minutes, no baby mama, baby daddy drama, right? He's in, right? And ultimately, like the folks that we work with, the initial training that they go through to get Jerry ramped up, and then the ongoing like little tweaks, or as policies change at the dealership, we can continue to teach Jerry, hey, here's the direction we want to go. He ends up being, to use your phrase, kind of that omnipresent first line of defense, whether it is with third-party leads, web chats, a text message, or even sales mining. So if you have years and years of data and customers that you've served and they love you, reaching out and saying, hey, it looks like you've got some equity in your car. We're doing some great promos this month. We'd love to chat with you, right? And so he can be in all of those spaces and then also ready for a response, again, no matter the time of day, to keep that conversation going, and then to notify the sales team when it's time for a call, or it's a test drive is scheduled, et cetera.
I love it. All right, I got a question for you, and I'm going to warn you. It's a very serious one, because I have heard that there are challenges with AI. And let me be clear, I'm not saying Podium, you know what I mean? Because again, a Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom until a real Phantom pulls up. So there, this might be different for a AI at the caliber of Jerry, but in general, one of the freak out points that I've talked to a lot of dealers is that they'll buy AI, right, from whatever company, but they have a CRM. The CRM has an automated CRM process or automated CRM action plans where it's day one, email or text, or day one, email and text, day two, activity, day three, activity, day four, activity. So almost every dealer I know, franchise and independent, in 2025 has a CRM, and the majority of them have automated protocols, automated content between email and text. And then on top of that, they've got a human that is making phone calls and emails and text messages and social media DMs. And now there's this AI. And so here's the conundrum. The problem is I've heard a bunch of dealers say, oh my God, I'm pissing my customers off because they're getting the CRM automation, and within 1 minute, they're getting 3 different emails and text messages. How does your philosophy or strategy untangle that or neutralize that, because I think that's stopping some dealers
Sure.
from engaging in AI, is because, man, it's just more crap to deal with and more things to piss off my customers. So am I off, or are these people crazy, or is this really happening, and
Well,
how do you solve it?
yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, you can have multiple systems that are pinging folks, or you can also have sales guys and gals that are all reaching out and not all paying attention, right? So I think ultimately the problem is the same. There's a couple ways to do that. The integrations that we have with different systems, CRMs, DMS, your website continues to grow every day. We look at some of the most popular CRMs that are out there to have conversation writebacks on some of those. For some smaller systems where we just haven't checked it off the list yet, there's functionality to easily flip back and forth just so you can have a clear idea of where we're at, and it becomes very easy. Just like anything, there's training that goes into it. One of the things, at least, and I'll speak to Podium, and I got my Podium fanboy cap on for a little bit. The onboarding is really important. Again, there's a ton of AI companies out there. Hell, if you're a smart enough kid, you could start an AI company and start, slinging AI deals. But the human aspect and training the teams is still a big piece of how it works. And when you pair that with integrations so that these systems work together, talk together, and plug your team into these processes, that's where these things just sing, and they work well. There's so many systems out there, and just so that this doesn't age poorly, I'll just say that list continues to grow. But does that at least kind of touch on how?
Yeah, and I think I had some perspective for me. I'll give you an example. Since we're talking about CRM, we have one of the absolute best CRMs on planet Earth, which is NCC's ProMax.
Mhm.
And I can tell you right now, NCC's got over 30 years of experience, all-in-one solution, focused on credit-driven retailing. They're the Leviathan in their world. We all have a mutual client. We have Jerry Hunt Supercenter. So, Billy, this is one of the most powerful independent dealer groups in the country. They have 2 stores, and they're selling over 810 units a month. And they're working with Dealer Synergy, NCC ProMax, and Podium because they want to sell 1,200 plus units a month out of 2 rooftops, independent. And so what's happening is this. So for our dealer audience, follow me. They have NCC ProMax CRM. So Dealer Synergy, for example, is going in and setting up all of their CRM processes. First, we are reverse engineering the dealership's mission, vision, values. We're understanding how they want the internet lead handling experience, the be-back experience, the dead lead experience, the sold lead experience, etc. Now that we have that strategy, we've engaged Podium and Podium's AI tool, specifically Jerry. And what we're doing, Billy, is we're having all 3 of our companies speak to each other. So we're having NCC ProMax, we have Dealer Synergy, and we have, Podium and Jerry. And on an install, we're making sure, and this is important, that we have one strategy for the human resources. So let me explain. There's certain things that Jerry can do and do very well. There's certain things that NCC ProMax can do and do very well. So we want technology to do that. To your point, Billy, follow me on this. First and foremost, if we're going to reverse engineer the priorities, we want Jerry to be when there's no agents, after hours, at night, before hours, whatever it is. Wherever there's a deficiency in human resources, we want the AI and its omnipresent Doctor Strange multiplicity to be there. Second, we want to be able to delegate, I'm going to say this, delegate the low-level activities like emailing and things like that to the CRM automation. That way, we could delegate higher-level activities that will have a higher probability of engagement conversion for human resources. For example, those 2 technology resources are not going to have the live verbal conversations. Those 2 technology resources aren't going to have customized video emails or video text messages, which increase read open rates by 300%. Both those technology things are not going to have social media DM communications, which is the number 1 form of communication on planet Earth. Facebook DM, LinkedIn DM, TikTok DM, Instagram DM, etc. So the idea is, how do we on one team if we're the Philadelphia Eagles, go Birds, because I'm from Philly, right? So if we are the Philadelphia Eagles and we want to win a Super Bowl, you have to play your position. And what happens to dealers is don't get all excited about whatever technology, whatever vendor, and not let them speak to each other. So, Billy, with that being said, don't you think an interdependent synergistic strategy for these type of companies to work together, whatever your AI is, whatever your CRM company is, they need to be in sync. If not, at the very least, you're not going to maximize, but most realistically, you're probably going to piss off your customers.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. And again, I would pair that with, while most dealers are very similar in a lot of ways, everybody's different too, right? And so understanding that it's not a totally just off the shelf solution, at least for it to work well and to maximize what we're trying to do, leveraging the integrations that exist, some of the best engineers out there create these things with, a team to help understand what do your processes look like? What are you trying to accomplish? Oh, you do it this way, not that way. And then making all those things blend together. That's where the technology and people meshing together creates something pretty special.
Now, I'm asking this because you are the sales lead. You run a sales department, and you are also obviously an expert in artificial intelligence. Can you just and let me just give the disclaimer. I heard you and I agree that every dealership is different with OEM, regional, personal philosophy, budget, whatever. But I'm asking your opinion. If you were a dealer, how would you leverage AI and the CRM and the human resource? I mean, like, what would the activities be? What activities should be delegated to the AI? What activities should be delegated to the CRM? And what activities should be delegated to a human resource? And who does what when? I know that's a long question, but it's a very important question.
Yeah, let me give you kind of just like generally here's where we start, and then maybe we'll deviate depending on, again, who we're talking with, what their systems look like. After hour leads, that's where Jerry is as good as they come, right? Coming in the morning, having a, call it sales manager, look to see of I'll make it up, 20 leads that came in. Oh, wow. 10 already have a test drive scheduled. All right. Let me make sure that's on the calendar. The other 5 had conversations going back and forth. And maybe there's 5 where we just need to call them as like a cold call. So that's step 1. Jerry's going to handle stuff after hours or on a Sunday if you're closed on a Sunday. And then what we see that there is a split here. We have some groups, they have a pretty mature BDC team. And so they want their team to be the first line of defense. Or if they haven't replied in like 5 minutes, you can put a timer on this. That's where like Jerry can step in. The other group is, no, let's let Jerry just handle all those messages back and forth. I live in Phoenix and there's a gal I was training personally just because I live close. And I was checking in after like 90 days and watching her workflow. She just sat and watched Jerry do his thing. And when there was a notification of like a phone call, that's when she would reach out. So both directions work. It's really a matter of like, how do you want to run your dealership, right? And again, option 1 is BDC, your team is the first touch during open hours, or Jerry's still the first touch. And then that kind of last layer, if you will, the follow-up, if you want Jerry to do that through text messages, great. If you also like how, your CRM sends out emails, you can, make sure those work together. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I want to redirect. One of the biggest things that dealers are focused on, especially if you're a franchise dealer, is CSI. And so this is a great question because Podium, if I'm understanding, one of your superpowers is online reputation. So you're a good person to ask this. But how does AI help CSI, or how can AI enhance your CSI?
I mean, I think the first step is just taking care of the customer, right? Making sure that, again, even if it's midnight, there's a quick response. Being professional, being kind, being empathetic, that all goes into it. I think as far as making sure you get credit for those things, that's where that kind of goes to our roots of online reputation, right? Making sure you show up and you look great on Google, right? It's wild if you have less than a 4.6 star rating, that's actually seen as a deterrent these days. Meaning if like you're a 4.2, like maybe they see a lead on Car Gurus and they're trying to figure out, hey, how far away are these guys? They put it into Google to figure out where the address is. And if they see like a 4.2, they still might go, but there's this feeling of, I hope this isn't a mistake. And so what we find is that, the trolls out there full of piss and vinegar, they're going to leave that 1-star review regardless, right? But what you got to do is just bury those knuckleheads with just all the 5 stars, because you guys do a great job in taking care of folks, so that you're getting the same credit online as you do in real life, and Google's giving you credit for who you are. The other piece of it that folks don't always recognize, specifically in like the Google space, looking good on your Google My Business page, the responses to reviews is a huge piece of how Google will rank you compared to all the competitors next to you. That's where AI has been a game changer. It's one of those tasks that, owners or GMs or internet sales managers know they probably should respond to these reviews, but with everything else going on, that can be deprioritized and skipped. Jerry can read every review that's left on like Google or Facebook, respond back to it. And what we generally do is, like, if it's a positive review, 4 or 5 stars, we'll answer it back. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, that's where we can notify the team and say, hey, something happened here. Do you want to reach out to them? That way there's a process to keep these reviews coming in and making sure that you're looking great, not just in person, but online.
Man, I remember when I interviewed Ross, from Podium, and he showed me, he didn't just tell me, he showed us, which floored me, how Jerry remembered a prospect. So what happened was, it was following up with a prospect in the AI for BDC, that product, you know what I mean? So it's the BDC AI, they follow up with leads, after hours, whatever. And there was a woman, that was looking at whatever kind of car it was. And Jerry said, oh, I saw you recently in our service department. You had a great experience. So it was reading and understanding across the website, social media, the online reputation, and it was able to import that as its strategy in the conversation to build a rapport, build value, and it was freaking amazing. I mean, that's the conversational aspect of AI. So I thought that was amazing. All right, so just what I want to be able to do is come up with like the top 3 strategies that a dealer can implement with AI.
The first, and I feel like I'm beating a horse to death a little bit, but make sure that after hour leads are being answered. That's probably my number 1 and number 2, right? Just because that's where, again, most leads go to die. And, for the longest time, it was just the industry norm to call them the morning after. But by the time that we're calling them at 10 or 11 a.m., they're working, they're with kids, they don't recognize the number, and those leads are never heard from again, right? The second piece is that ongoing follow-up. It is saying, hey, following up again about that white Tahoe, any interest in that? Making sure that follow-up is contextual, kind of to your point, right? Is human, is empathetic, and is relevant to what they're looking at. And then the third piece is that sales mining, right? So being able to understand, hey, I have 1,000 people that are going to have equity in their car in the next 3 months. How do we reach out to those folks? How do we bring them back into the dealership so I'm not having to sell to new customers every time, but a good chunk of my business can be recurring or repeat business? That's for sure the 1, 2, 3.
I love it. Well, listen, folks, I'm telling you right now, I challenge you to just take one out of the plethora of amazing ideas that we got from Billy today and just apply it this week. And I'm telling you, you're going to sell more cars more often, more profitably. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's all over the place if you're listening to us. And also make sure that you join the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group with over 30,000 dealer principals, GMs, to automotive professionals. Now, Billy, if somebody is interested in artificial intelligence, Jerry, or any other things that you do at Podium, how can they get a hold of you besides clicking the link in the show notes?
That's a great way. Honestly, you can also just go to podium.com and click around. You can talk to Jerry yourself if you want to start a conversation and see what that's all about. That's connected to a demo account, and so it's going to not be full-blown Jerry, but kind of give you a sense of it. And then honestly, like, my team would love to talk with you about it. What we find is that we can tell pretty quickly if we're going to be a good fit or not. And then the conversation becomes more of, if we're going to do this, what does this look like? And making sure that it checks your boxes. Again, there's a lot of similarities with all the folks we talk about, but everybody also is different in a number of ways.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley again at the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, Dealer Synergy. I've been rocking with my man here, Billy Hymas of Podium. Artificial intelligence, you know what it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you liked it, you're gonna love Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand is the most advanced virtual training, tracking, testing, and certification platform. What does that mean? It's an online university. And if you like this information here, we have hundreds and hundreds of advanced videos, step by step, on how to help you sell more cars more often and more profitably, so sign up now.